So it's a really common misconception that you need to exactly replicate your working salary in retirement. And that can be a really, really scary prospect, because if you're earning, say, £70,000, you'll need a big pension pot to actually generate that once you've stopped working. But in reality, a lot of people live on significantly less but still enjoy the same kind of lifestyle.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Personal Investor Podcast. I'm Ed Monk, and I'm joined today by Fidelity's Jemma Slingo to talk about how much money you need in retirement. That is something that we talk quite a lot about on the podcast, but today we're asking something more specific. How much of your pre-retirement salary do you need to reproduce in retirement so that you see no drop in your living standards? We've run the numbers and you might find the results surprising. Before that, let me remind you that if you find this video useful or interesting, to please subscribe to the channel. Give us a like and leave a comment if you want to do that. And once you've subscribed, remember to hit that bell icon at the top of the page to turn on notifications to make sure that you get new content as soon as it is released. That all said, Jemma, welcome along. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Ed. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. First of all, Jemma, there's lots of ways that you can think about this question of how much money you need in retirement. We've covered most of them on the pod.
Yep.
Why might it be useful to view this question in terms of how much of your pre-retirement salary you need in retirement?
I think it's a really simple and quite personalised approach, which a lot of people might like.
Yeah.
So last month on the podcast, we were talking about the retirement living standards. And this is basically a set of numbers that tell you how much you're likely to spend in retirement each year, depending on what sort of standard of living you want. And a lot of people like these, they think they're really useful, but they always spark loads of debate because people say, oh, they're too high, they're too low. They don't reflect my own experiences.
Yes.
What we're going to talk about today are known as target replacement rates. And it basically takes a different look at the problem of how much you're likely to need each year in retirement. And it basically looks at how much you earn as a working person. And then it thinks about what proportion of that you might need in retirement. So you basically have your starting salary and then a percentage which you apply to it.
Yes. And I guess the first thing to say is that it should be possible to live on a lower income in retirement without a hit to your living standard. That's the assumption that we've got here. So that first number of your pre-retirement salary, the second number, your post-retirement salary, is going to be lower. It'll be a percentage of that.
Definitely. So it's a really common misconception that you need to exactly replicate your working salary in retirement. And that can be a really, really scary prospect, because if you're earning, say, £70,000, you'll need a big pension pot to actually generate that once you've stopped working. But in reality, a lot of people live on significantly less but still enjoy the same kind of lifestyle. And there are three main reasons for that. The first is tax. So when you're retired, you won't be paying national insurance anymore.
If you're above state pension age.
If you're above state pension age. And you'll probably be able to take a quarter of your pension completely tax-free.
Yeah.
So you may end up with a smaller tax bill in retirement. The second thing is probably the big one, I'd say, which is saving. So when, you and I save every month into a pension, we might also be funneling some money into an ISA or some other kind of savings pot. When you're retired, you're not in that accumulation stage anymore. You sort of shift from saving to spending. You're not having to build up your pension, you're drawing it down. And that means you could actually happily live on a lower income, spend exactly the same amount as you do normally, but you're just not setting aside money every month.
Yes.
The third point is about consumption. And this, I would say, is probably the least convincing one for me, at least. The idea is that once you hit retirement, your spending habits might dramatically change and you'll end up spending less. So the classic ones like you won't be commuting anymore, you won't be spending loads in Pret every day for your lunch, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And that probably is the case if you look across the whole population, across all ages from 66 to 100, say.
Yes.
But I think the argument holds that actually if you're fairly early in retirement, you might actually be spending a similar amount to when you're younger, because you might be going on all those holidays that you had saved up. But those sort of three things across the piece are basically why you might actually be able to live very happily, enjoy the same lifestyle on less in retirement.
Yeah, and we're going to touch upon all those issues as we go through today. So the starting point for this question, I guess, is figures that are published that are out there to give us an indication. What is out there in terms of replacement rates?
So the numbers we're going to talk about today are from the Pensions Commission. And for those who don't know, this is an independent body set up by the government. And it's basically there to look at whether the UK pension system is fit for purpose and fit for the future. And actually, the Pensions Commission landed on these rates all the way back in 2004. But the government updates them every year to make sure they account for inflation. And the last set of figures we have are from 2023. So they're a little bit out of date now, but those are the latest ones we've managed to get our hands on.
Yes, and we can bring something up on screen to show these figures. Of course, if you're listening to us and you're not watching this, I'm going to describe broadly what we're talking about. I don't think it's too complicated. It is the different replacement rates that apply to different levels of earnings. So you can see at the top there, for earnings below just under £16,000, £15,900, the replacement rate for that is 80%. But then if you go down the list, you'll see the levels of earnings increasing until you get to the bottom. Earnings of more than £67,000, the replacement rate drops to 50%. So in other words, the more you earn before you retire, the lower the percentage of your salary you need to replace in retirement. What's the explanation for that difference, Gemma?
So the thinking is, if you're a low earner, a big portion of your salary is going to be going towards essentials like food and bills. And in all likelihood, those pieces of expenditure aren't going to massively drop once you retire. So the replacement rate you need is relatively high.
Yeah.
If you're a high earner, though, say you're on £100,000, according to these figures, you'll only need £50,000 to enjoy the same kind of lifestyle. And that's because of the things we talked about earlier, the saving point, the tax, the consumption. And obviously, if you're earning lots of money, it's likely that you will actually be putting quite a lot aside every month rather than just spending it. Even though I guess there is a point of sort of lifestyle creep and your expenses probably will go up the more you earn. There's still the argument that actually a lot of it will be going into savings.
Yeah, there's another way to interpret those numbers, and that is in terms of how much money you would need in savings relative to your pre-retirement salary. Now we can pull something else up on screen now to show this. So a bit more of a complicated chart. What does this show us, Gemma?
Yeah, it's a bit of an ugly looking chart, but don't be put off. So along the bottom on the x-axis, you can see your pre-retirement salary. So how much you're earning before you stop work. And along the side, you can see what sort of pension pot you might need in order to maintain your lifestyle once you retire. So if we just take one example, it's someone earning £52,000 a year would need a pension pot of around £510,000 plus the state pension to sort of achieve that target replacement rate. We assume a few things. So the first is that you will be receiving an average state pension. And the other is that you would opt for a 4% withdrawal rate in retirement. And this chart isn't something which you want to sort of trace minutely to figure out exactly what size of pension you'd need, but it's a really useful starting point.
Yeah, and a couple of things to say. So first of all, the withdrawal rate, you've assumed 4% a year. Quite a conservative withdrawal rate. If you took more, the numbers up the left wouldn't look so scary, would they? They'd be a little lower.
Yep, that's true.
If you were taking a bit more, obviously with the risk that your money runs out sooner. And then you've also got, let's explain this sort of sawtooth effect of this chart. That is a symptom of the fact that they apply quite flat rates to broad income bands, and actually it kind of creates sort of anomalous situations in a chart like this, but you can read it in a more kind of general way.
Yeah, so it's like little kinks in the data, I guess. So on this chart, it looks like you would need a lower pension pot if you were on, say, £70,000 to if you were on 65. But that's because those target replacement rates, they sort of move in steps across earnings bands. So you get these funny little jumps. And that's what those little sawtooth movements are.
Yeah, but if you kind of like sort of visually flatten it out and look at the line in that way, you would get a sort of broad sort of idea of the savings you need.
Exactly.
Okay, we should say here, shouldn't we, that all these measures, that replacement rates, whether it's the PLSA figures on retirement living standards, they're all fine in isolation. They become more powerful, I guess, when you look at several of them together.
I think so. And that's the case if you are an individual or if you're a government really looking to see whether pension policy is working. So I was having a look on the government site and all these different papers about pensions policy. And often they're using these target replacement rates in conjunction with those retirement living standards to basically figure out whether people are on track for their retirements.
Yeah.
And I think you could probably do something quite similar at home. So if you're looking at those retirement living standards thinking these are insane, like this doesn't apply to me, you could consider this approach instead, or vice versa. If you think these target replacement rates aren't looking right, you could maybe give it a bit of a sense check with a different method.
And the value of all these things, I think, is that they just give you a bit of a target and a bit of an idea. So many people don't understand how the savings that they have and the pot that they build up will sort of translate in the future into a retirement income. These sorts of things help you get there, right? And give you an idea of, well, if I'm earning this amount of money, perhaps I should have this amount saved. Targets are good, even if they're scary in the first instance.
I think so. And I think target replacement rates are quite useful because you're sort of dealing with a year by year progression. Because I think one of the really difficult things about retiring is you're looking decades into the future. You've got this hopefully big pension pot, which you're having to think about how it's going to generate a regular income for you. Whereas with something like replacement rates or the retirement living standards, you've got it in a sort of bite-sized chunk of, okay, this is how much I'll need in a year. And this is the first step in how to achieve that.
Yeah. Okay. Finally then, Jemma, I just wanted to end up with one final set of numbers that we'll bring up on screen that I think underline this point that you need less in retirement than you do pre-retirement. So this, a few numbers to explain, but this shows a comparison between a pre-retirement income of £60,000 and a post-retirement income of £30,000. So in other words, a retirement income that is half the value of a working salary. And what we've done here is to apply some of the factors that we've spoken about, like tax, but also crucially the effect that savings has. So the difference that moving from being a saver who's putting money aside to a retiree who's no longer saving, what difference does that make? So you can see that the pre-retirement income of £60,000, that translates into a monthly income after tax and NI of £3,800, more or less. But we've assumed that this person is using some of that salary to save. So they're saving 10% of their pre-tax salary into a pension, but they're also setting aside £500 of after-tax money into other savings and investments, ISAs, whatever. When those savings are factored in, the person on a 60 grand salary is left with just under £3,000 a month. Now let's compare that then to someone with a post-retirement salary of 30k. After tax and NI, and of course they don't pay NI if they're above state pension age, they're left with just over £2,200. So overall, despite having an income half the salary, they're left with about 3/4 of the usable income. So you can kind of see how you need less. And then finally, what we've done here is added in the effect of a full state pension at current levels. And then suddenly, if you were to do that, the income jumps to £3,200. So more than the usable income from a 60 grand salary. And I think the point we're keen to make with these numbers is that the income you need from your own savings might not be as much as you think in order to get the same level of the same standard of living in retirement.
Yeah, and I think that's really reassuring, isn't it? Because if you're thinking, oh, I earn this much, I need to exactly replicate that, you could easily go down a complete sort of spiral in terms of once you figure out what size of pension that actually means. But yeah, once you take off the savings, the tax, and incorporate the state pension in, it starts to look a lot less scary. Yeah,
and I think so often the numbers that we use to talk about the challenge of paying, or funding your retirement, they look so scary. You need huge numbers in savings. It's very off-putting. And sometimes it's nice to have some figures where actually the opposite is true. And it might not be as bad as you think to get the income you need. Okay, well, that is about as much time as we have, Gemma, so let's leave it there. I will just remind you all that if you found this useful or interesting, to please subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon to get notified as soon as new content is released. Give us a like or share the episodes. It really does help other people find what we're doing here. If you want to read more of Gemma's work on this, we're going to put a link to the article that she's written about this in the notes for the episode. That all said, Gemma, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.